Almost everyone knows what happened to Marie Antoinette and her husband Louis XVI, how their lives were tragically and brutally ended during the French Revolution of 1789. The story of their daughter, Marie-Thérèse, has not been widely written about, but it deserves to be known because she proved to be an interesting and inspiring character. Her tragic life story is about survival and sheer determination to fight till the very end. Born to her famous parents, the monarchs of France, on the 19th of December 1778 at the Palace of Versailles, Marie-Thérèse Charlotte of France was a long-awaited child of the royal couple 7 years into their marriage. Her mother, Marie Antoinette, nicknamed her newborn daughter Mousseline, but she was also known as Madame Royale. Marie-Thérèse was brought up by two loving parents who adored her. Spoiled by Louis XVI and taught by Marie Antoinette to be kind to those less fortunate than her, Madame Royale was growing up to become a young, serious child. By the time she was 8 years old, Marie-Thérèse had already 2 more brothers and a sister. Louis-Joseph, born in 1781, who died of tuberculosis when he was 7 years old, just before the revolution started, Louis-Charles, born in 1785, and Sophie Helen, born in 1786, who died in her infancy. Inexperienced to deal with the social unrest and problems that France was facing in 1789, the 35-year-old King Louis XVI and his wife Marie Antoinette, who was 34 years old, were just months away from attempting to flee France with their family in June 1791. Their attempt failed, and they were brought back to Paris, heavily guarded and unable to escape. The funeral march of the monarchy was being witnessed by its own representatives. The following summer, Marie-Thérèse was imprisoned together with her parents, her 4-year-old brother, and her father's sister Elizabeth in the Temple in Paris. A month after their incarceration, when the institution of the monarchy was abolished in September 1792, the royal family's future was looking bleak. Worried for his children's safety, the king was trying to keep their spirit up by teaching his children geography and various stories. Uncertainty was obviously unbearable. The prison guards would watch them closely, monitoring their discussions and every gesture. They would only have 3 more months living together. On a cold day in January 1793, the king was taken away from his family and brutally killed by guillotine. France would change profoundly as a country, and so would Marie's life. When Marie Antoinette learned about her husband's death, she knelt down before her son Louis-Charles. The king was dead. Long live the king. He had become Louis XVII. After her father's death, Marie's life became almost unbearable. One by one, the remaining members of her family would be taken away and they would vanish from Marie's life. Soon after the king died, Marie Antoinette was also removed from the prison cell the royal family were sharing and was also executed in October 1793. Marie-Thérèse would learn about her mother's death only in 1795. One can only imagine how difficult life in prison must have been for Marie and her brother. Yet Louis-Charles would not be spared either. Any viable and traceable link to the monarchy had to be severed. Louis-Charles was also separated from his family and detained in an insalubrious cell. He was neglected by the guards, and the 10-year-old boy king died alone and forgotten on the 8th of June 1795. After Marie Antoinette died, Marie-Thérèse had only her Aunt Elizabeth, who was her father's sister, to rely on, but that was short-lived too, because in May 1794, Elizabeth was separated from Marie and guillotined, just because she was the late king's sister. For the next 1.5 years, Madame Royale would spend her time alone in her prison room, relying only on her inner strength and her religious beliefs as a devout Catholic for her own survival. Towards the end of her time in confinement, and with all her family dead, the decision was made to allow Marie-Thérèse some small liberties: a visitor, books, ink and paper, and short walks in the prison gardens. A month before the end of 1795, the new French government negotiated the exchange of French prisoners held captive in Austria, and Marie was released from prison and allowed to travel to her mother's country of origin. A day after her release, Madame Royale turned 17. During the 3.5 years that Marie-Thérèse spent in prison, her life changed forever. Her parents and her brother would only be living in her thoughts, but her inner desire to take revenge would never die. The memory of her family would guide Marie-Thérèse for the rest of her life. Once in Austria, Marie would spend 3 years at the court of Franz II, the Holy Roman Emperor, although she wanted to join her uncle, Louis XVIII, the brother of her father, in Italy. Always wearing black mourning dresses, Marie was a rather beautiful young princess, although she was always looking sad. The emperor tried to persuade her to marry into Austrian royalty, but she resisted. France and the idea of French monarchy would always be in the back of her mind. She was harboring the desire that one day her life would take her back to France, and she would help restore the monarchy, thus vindicated the family's memory. In the spring of 1799, Marie traveled to Russia, where her uncle was living in exile, and she accepted the marriage proposal to marry her cousin, Louis-Antoine, Duc d'Angoulême. He was the son of Count of Artois, who was the younger brother of Marie's father, Louis XVI. Madame Royale's path back to the French throne was beginning to take shape. From that point forward, Marie-Thérèse and her husband lived in exile with the French court, supporting their uncle king and traveling to Prussia, Russia and England and back to Russia according to different political alliances. After Napoleon's Russian campaign, his political future was looking unstable. Marie-Thérèse was beginning to realize how close she was to achieving her dream when, in March 1814, the restoration of the Bourbon monarchy was proclaimed and Louis XVIII became King of France. In April 1814, Napoleon was forced to abdicate, and Marie-Thérèse and her uncle king returned to France and regained the royal throne. When Marie-Thérèse arrived in France, after 2 decades, she was relieved and extremely happy to return to her homeland. Her fight had not been in vain, and the memory of her parents was vindicated. Scheming to return to power, Napoleon escaped from Elba in March 1815 and returned to Paris to regain his throne. Once again, the monarchy was overthrown and the royal court fled to England. Marie resisted and she remained in Bordeaux, but she gave in when Napoleon's cause seemed to gain support. His return was short-lived, and after his lost battle at Waterloo, he was forced to abdicate for the last time and exiled by the British on the remote island of St. Helena. Marie's prayers seemed to be listened to, and the Bourbons were able to return to France. For the next 15 years, Madame Royale was able to reconnect with her country and to live a quiet life, although not for long. When Louis XVIII died in September 1824, Marie's father-in-law became Charles X, who would rule for 6 years before the monarchy was again facing problems in 1830. Charles was forced to abdicate that summer, and the House of Bourbons would be forced to go into exile again. Madame Royale left France for the last time and went to live in Scotland for 3 years. From there, the royal family moved to a grand residence in Prague and later to an Italian villa where the king died in 1836. When her husband, the Duke of Angoulême, died in 1844, Marie moved to a castle near Vienna, where she lived quietly until her death on the 19th of October 1851. During her life of intense suffering, Marie-Thérèse never forgot her parents, and she prayed constantly for their souls. She lived a life dominated by uncertainty and changes of fortune, but she was fearless, proving she was able to withstand whatever life threw at her, and the very fact that she survived is a testament to the courage of the last truly royal princess of France.